You need to listen.
Good evening. Welcome to Wright Talk with Mike Lee. And to celebrate my 100th show, I've got two of my good friends on with me. I thought it would be appropriate to have them celebrate the show with me.
I'm Blind Mellow Jello. No, I'm not. I'm Kennard, Wright.
This is Karl Lentini.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Mike.
It's nice for both of you to be here. I'm really glad that you get to share this with me. As I said, this is my 100th show in my 67th year. It's my third year doing this, though, I believe. But I'd just like to chat with you guys about really what's been happening. I've been frankly amazed at the Democratic circus that's going on. And, but frankly, I'm a little worried, not a whole lot worried about the next election, because I think they're now believing that Elizabeth Warren is going to win and that she'll be a white woman with Obama. You know, Obama probably needed a skirt himself, but she already had the skirt on. I guess she let him wear the pants sometimes.
No, she wears pantsuits.
She wears pantsuits?
Yeah, she wears pantsuits a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
So you worried about what's going to happen with the election?
No, I think
In what
Trump's, I think
context?
Trump's, well, because
What do you mean? I know what I think you mean, but
because people come out more against something, they do for something many times. But I sense something funny is going on, and because the reason I get the sense of things, the last election when I bet on Trump coming down the escalator, it's just a gut feeling I had. And it was confirmed because I was at a service station one time in Houston just before the election. There was a lady who was reluctant to talk to me. And when I showed her that I was doing volunteer work for the Travis County Republican Party, I gave these kids books that were, you know, patriotic and historically oriented. She opened up like we're the all-time best buddies. And I remember coming home telling my wife, Nadie, I said, Nadie, Trump's going to win. There's going to be some people who vote this time who've never voted before. And that's really what happened. And when I've thought back about it lately, to me it seems like Trump tapped into kind of what Ross Perot tapped into when he screwed up the election for Bush and helped him get elected.
I don't know if he tapped into the same thing. Well, you could generally say it, but I would say this as well. Is one day I was coming back from the train station, and it was like 3 or 4 of us, and I gave everybody a ride to the house. This is before the election, and they were all ragging on Trump, and oh, he's a bad guy, he's this and that, and that's got this. And the last guy got out, and he looks back, he said, you know, I can't tell anybody this except for maybe my parents, but I'm going to vote for him too.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people that had to be closeted as if they were coming out in the 60s or something. And I don't know if Trump necessarily tapped into the exact same thing, with the exception of he understood the people more than the other people on the mainstream Republicans or the Democrats, right? Because there was a certain frustration with the status quo, a certain frustration politically, socially, even morally, in terms of those people that maybe were Christians and maybe they wanted somebody who was going to just try to do what was right per their faith. But he did tap into something different. And I think, I was telling a good friend of mine, the one I was telling you about who's community college professor. I said they underestimated him before, and they're underestimating him again. There's a whole program to define him as a racist, and I started going through the 50 years of history, and I got from 70 to maybe 89, and the only thing that I saw that maybe nominally could qualify was he filed some kind of the consent agreement in 71 or 73 saying that he would rent to people of color. Well, the whole point is that he tapped into something, and even he tapped into black people who want people to do things legally, who want the government to maybe have less regulation, who want, just basic things. And I'll always say, even my godmother, I didn't think she liked Trump, right? And now she's like, hey, I had Easter with my family, and I had to tell them all why Trump is such a great man, and he's put there by God and all this. And you know what? I didn't turn her. I didn't even talk to her really about the election. But she was like me per politics or something. She turned herself. So he understands people. And I was listening to something he did, and it was talking about him, I like to win. He likes to win. But on some level, even if you were to consider him an imbecile, initially you can't, because he understood the human dynamic politically, socially, and morally, and or spiritually. So you can call him a lot of things, but he's not a jack you-know-what. Right, he tapped into something, and even now with the articles of impeachment, with he's a racist and all this and that, and he's this and he's that.
That's what they tried before.
Well, no, they didn't try the racist thing. That's a little bit newer. They're going hard on it, but whatever they tried, they're not, by and large, don't have a coherent policy, and all of this stuff, his stuff isn't cheap. All of this stuff is like, his is hundreds of millions, his proposals. There's like $4 trillion, $20 trillion. We simply can't afford all the things that these people want. Nobody can.
Free things for everybody in the whole wide world.
Is it free, Karl? Is anything free?
There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Well, Karl, you're from the People's Republic. You're from the People's Republic of California.
Well, I lived there. I wasn't from there.
Where you weren't?
Yeah.
Well, you were in the People's Republic Center in L.A., weren't you?
Yeah, for
How
many
long?
years. 25 years.
25 years?
Yeah.
And they didn't convert you to foolishness?
I'm my own person. I don't get influenced by whatever's trendy, whatever other people are doing. I was raised to have my own say on things, regardless.
I'm beginning to just think, generally, that African American in general, they have like a herd mentality. It's like whatever white liberals say, yeah, amen.
Isn't everybody? But on one of your older shows, when you were calling me sidekick for quite a while, thank God we've got away from sidekick. I thought I was like,
yeah. Now you got a Kango hat.
I know,
But
in a high seat, like I'm in a spelling bee. But I said, and I quote, I said, black people are like this song by Escape. All they want you to do is feel that that you understand them. And the song said, what I need from you is understanding, a failure to communicate. I want you to hear what I say. So all we want you to do is hear how we feel and respond verbally. And as long as we get the verbal response, you don't have to do nothing.
That's just like church.
Well, yeah, it's like a church that's in the flesh instead of a church that's with the spirit. But people are responding to what they say. Like I was like, okay, look, y'all. If we got reparations, one, we would bankrupt the country. Two, people say I wasn't there and I wasn't a slave or whatever. I wasn't the owner. But the fact of the matter is, all you really need are policies that are fair, police, schools, etc. And you need to, like I told my friend in community college professor, he said, he was talking about racism. I said, at some point, you simply cannot blame everything on racism. You could blame 20%, you might 80, whatever number you want. At some point, we have to not respond to the rhetorical stuff, one, and two, at some point, even if it's just me and my child, when her mother and I split, I was responsible. I paid what I needed to do. I went and talked to her. I went and spent time with her. Let's take responsibility for ourselves while we hold the system accountable. And like I always tell them, and I get them with this real easy, Mike, And like Malcolm X said, do not trust a white liberal. He didn't say trust a conservative automatically, no.
Right.
But he specifically said categorically, and going up against the NAACP, SNCC, and everybody, he said, do not trust them. They will come in and take over your organizations, and you will, this is me paraphrasing the last part, and they will try to have you do their bidding.
And that's what's happening now. It's like, and I really got to hang up about abortion, because it's no secret. It's known that blacks are disproportionately aborted in greater numbers percentage-wise than Caucasians.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yet African Americans, including the hallowed walk on water Obama.
No, he's not walking water. He's like Peter when he sank. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I believe in God.
You can't talk like that about the new Jesus.
Jesus?
Yeah, he's new Jesus.
Well, look, black people, like any other group, we have a lot of people have lost their ways, not just black people. And in the context of what you're saying, if you take responsibility for your actions, the woman you're with, the man you are intimate with, the man you marry, how you treat your kids, then you get to the point where people, one, care more about their kids and they won't feel the need to abort, perhaps. Or if you actually try to live out your sense of faith. Black people, like America, maybe it's hit us harder. We've lost our center. And our center is based upon what others say. Your center isn't anything you've developed yourself, right? You don't have any responsibility in your community because you're detached from it. So at some point, you have to decide that I'm going to develop
So our center is what someone else says?
Sometimes, yes. Mm-hmm. Someone could be the minister at church. Someone could be Planned Parenthood, which sells embryos and fetuses and heads and stuff to companies that do biomedical research and all this. But, if you can get over that, okay, that's your problem. But we are kind of lost, and I think it comes up to us, as I was telling my friend, to be responsible. I could blame anything. I could sit there and blame everything that happened with my kid and all this on society and how the white man and child and this and that. At some point, I didn't do that. No, I was active in her life. I didn't sit there and blame somebody else. You can't blame them at some point. And even if it is somebody's fault in the system, then this is your kid. How would you feel if somebody aborted you? Well, that would be... No. You would not exist. You would be something else, somewhere else in God's eye that didn't make it to the world. Or like someone I know that's very dear, and I really want to say who it is, had an abortion at a young age, late-term abortion. Mm-hmm. Now is a very conservative Christian and knows that she made a mistake. And she would gladly tell other women like that, and that is a selfish thing to do, and that was not the right thing to do. But you know what? That person didn't have good counsel. Their mother took him in. They had bad situations, bad things happen, and people do horrible things. But the point was that person said, I took responsibility for what I did, and I confessed it per my faith to God, right? And the whole point is you need to be responsible for you. At some point, my daughter can't blame me if I bonked her over head with a wiffle ball or something if she's mean to people. Because at some point, she's conscious and makes that choice of how she treats people. Mm-hmm. That's what black people or many of us have to do. But I will say this, lastly, I don't think all of us are lost. My godmother's example. Just a few other people. And my point is not to say that they should vote conservative, although if you're a person of faith, you probably will, if you're at a certain level of conviction. My point is to say that, you know what? Some people are focusing more on faith, or in the case of law, mm-hmm. order, justice. It's not a lot, but there's some. So there's a lot of work to do, yes. But that comes with me like my daughter. Oh, she had some conservative position. I never told her to take a conservative position on immigration. But she had one. That's okay, because I said to her, I want you to be your own person and to make your own choices. My job is to give you the information, and your job is to be you.
It's her decision.
You're you. But if you give them bull crap, like the stuff I got in school or they get in school nowadays, I don't know, then you might be lost.
Now I know my son, to me, is an example. I always told Mikey, I'll give you the best I have to give in terms of advice and counsel and not what little knowledge I may possess. But whatever choice is made, that's yours. That's on you. That's your choice. And one day we were talking. He just said, "Dad, you know," he said, "I'm more Republican than anything else because to me it's the only thing that makes sense." And I thought to myself, "Thank God." But he came to that conclusion on his own.
I'll go you one better. Even though we're all here will vote conservative and vote Republican or whatever, right? I'm not even saying I want you to be that. But if you're a person of faith, I want you to follow what it says in the Bible, right? And if somebody comes and tells you, for instance, oh, well, do this, show me where that is in the Word in 3 places, in the New Testament primarily, if you're a Christian. My point is, like, will they probably be conservative? More than likely, yes. But I'm only approaching it from the point of Scripture if it's a faith thing, right? If it's a process thing, or maybe that's a little bit different. But my point is, like, hey, should you vote conservative? I would generally agree. But I'm not even going. I don't have to go that far. All I got to do is, if you're a believer and you're trying to aspire to grow maturity, all I got to do is point you to the Word. And if you study it and learn it, or if you communicate with the Holy Spirit, you're going to try to do things that are in conjunction with God's Spirit and not man's. And at the end of the day, only one party in this country current, unless we come up with another one, hey, we'll call it the Pro-People's Party. This isn't a joke. This is not a complete joke, but with policies that aren't holier than thou. But the point is, I want you to focus on the Word. And if you're process-based, you want justice, equality, and fairness. Equality doesn't mean boys go into a girl's restroom and say they're a girl necessarily. I mean, in a genealogical sense, by law, people can do what they want. The city can do what it wants. The county. The point is, like, be logical policy-wise. And if you're a faith person, follow your faith. And if you're a Christian, you should follow what's in the New Testament, because that will lead you to a greater understanding. And ultimately, and if you want to do it in a political sense, it'll lead you to the Republicans or whatever in this country.
Well, I remember when I was in high school.
What was that?
You know, that was in 1969, 89, 70, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you were talking about do your thing, do your own thing. It went from do your thing to do your own thing to do any damn thing, it seems to me. By the time I got to law school, it was do anything. And now it's just, you got RuPaul in your life. It's like do anything.
Yeah. You mean it's too pervasive and it's wrong? Is that what you mean?
It's perversion. And perversion is popular.
Well, yeah, just because something's popular don't mean you got to do it. Remember the counterculture back in the 60s, I was barely thought of in the 60s. I was born in 71. So but it was a reaction to the current culture.
But now it's almost mainstream.
It is, but that I'll take that for now. You know why? Because as things change politically and morally, if we ever actually have, well, let me strike that. When we have some kind of real revival per our faith, then guess what it'll be? It'll be counterculture. And this time, we'll go back to where, like, what was that? I think it's called, it was in LA, I think, the Azusa Street Revival, started by this black itinerant farmer, preacher, whatever. The whole point is, like, if you get back to a relationship with God, then you can get away some of the perversion. It doesn't mean you dislike the people.
Right.
It doesn't mean I don't like my cousin Fred, who likes to dress up as a giraffe or whatever. It just means that at the end of the day, I'm trying to stand for what is just, what is right, and even what follows biology. If you just happen to want to follow Darwin's.
What's difficult for me to just, in a sense, comprehend is how people just don't understand that you can not like what someone does, but that doesn't mean that you don't like the person. It just means you don't like what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, they're certainly passing judgment too. You know, everybody's passing judgment. You know, criticizing other people, right? Projecting their values on other people. So, if there's something that you don't approve of or agree with or would partake of yourself, you have a right to that viewpoint. Doesn't mean you. It's like the saying, "Love the sinner but hate the sin." You know, you still accept the person. A human being is a human being, worthy of. You know,
I always believed that the best approach is You can do whatever the heck you want, but I don't have to be in it. Leave me. Don't put me in there. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Well, but see, you're an attorney or something like that. You're smart.
Something like that.
Yeah. So you know that you know how you might have a phrase that would lead into something you want to say or argue. Some of what people are doing today in terms of what they're promoting is to lead into greater acceptance, to lead into people being accepting if something should come before the Supreme Court and they have the justices go their way. So basically, if you're looking at say the LBGQ, whatever.
LGBTQ. Now they.
I'm sorry, it's too many acronyms. I'd be like,
No.
if you did, but the point is, they masterfully in the last 30 years had a process politically, and even through the courts to achieve their objectives, right? Which was gay marriage, right? And so if you notice, if you go look at TV, here's a good example. There's a promulgation of things. So I'm watching a cartoon called Young Justice. This is real simple. And I'm like, you crime fighting and somebody getting smashed and this is recent. And then suddenly I have different people kissing on other people. I was like, wait a minute. I thought this was a superhero show where they fought bad guys and not a show. This in the 60s where we were getting lynched and jumped by dogs and stuff and bitten.
Water hose down.
The whole point is, if you notice the way things are going, and I'm not necessarily assessing judgment to it. I'm simply saying whether it be in a social setting versus a cartoon, or in the courts or whatever, there was a systematic process by which somebody sat down and said this, and this is what we're going to do, right? So that's what I'm saying is that everything we're seeing is a result of somebody generally or specifically having an idea. And going back to black people or any people. Now, I don't necessarily have a big name. I don't know at this point if I want a big name, although at some point I may need to have a big name. But the point of it is that we ain't got no agenda. And because the other thing Malcolm X said, and I love this one too, he said, write down the things that you need, give them to those people, whoever the people are, and whoever gives you more of what you need or want, that's who you say, hot diggity damn, we're going to vote for you, Sally. You know, what's that song, Ride, Sally, Ride? That's who you riding with, ride or die. And the point is, one group of people, the LGBTQ people, had an agenda, whether it's right or wrong, and I don't necessarily agree with it per se. But the point of it is, we didn't have an agenda, and even Christians. Oh well, we're going to wait on the Lord. No, you should wait on the Lord's power, but the Lord gave you authority, and He gave you discernment. So if you don't get out there like we were saying at church last night, we had a guest minister. Actually, we have him tonight. House of the Lord tonight, 7:30. Anyway, and we were saying, hey, if you don't get outside of the walls and be active for the kingdom, then nothing's going to happen. The whole point is hey, they had an agenda and they worked it. What agenda did we have? Oh, well, we just want you to care about us. As a Christian, what agenda do we have? Oh, well, we don't want to offend nobody. Well, what did he just say? You can respect them and you can love them, but you can disagree with them. And just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I hate you. It just means I have my own convictions. So let's have an agenda if you want to have one. Black people or Christians or whatever, Zoroastrianites, that's the first monotheistic religion, Zoroastrianism, just so you know. But we need a plan, and we should stick to our plan to achieve our objectives.
Well, it seems to me the plan is to be liked by white liberals. Just straight up.
Maybe not even liked.
That's the whole plan.
No. Maybe I wouldn't even say that. We want to be stroked. And most people do. And we do not want to say we want to be stroked. Because if we really wanted action, we wouldn't just talk about Donald Trump being racist, which I don't believe he is. We would say, you know what? This Baltimore, Maryland, you guys from Nancy Pelosi's dad to Nancy Pelosi's brother to Nancy Pelosi's dad, again, promulgated racist and segregationist policies for like 20 years in Baltimore, Maryland. But we wouldn't just address the people that we don't like. We would address the people that we like. Because if you do something wrong, I'm gonna come to you like, Mike, I love you, man, but that's messed up. You shouldn't do that. No, we only seek to see injustice on those we don't like, and that's asinine. That's ASSININE, asinine. That's not the correct spelling of the word, but
It's one S.
I know.
Okay. Karl, you brought your guitar. I asked you when I asked you to come down, you said, "Can I bring my guitar?" I said, "Yeah."
Okay.
What you got for us?
Well, I got an original song called the Midget Cafe.
You sure I didn't hear that? You sang that last time, Midget Cafe, didn't you?
Yeah, you remember it.
Yeah.
You remember it. It's memorable. Hopefully, for everyone.
I was a short basketball player, so I could identify.
I was sitting there having my supper of turkey and bacon and beans, drinking a ball of my coffee with plenty of sugar and cream. I looked and I saw two lovers having themselves a good time. They didn't pay much attention, but everyone knew their kind. You never know what's coming. It could be a friend or a foe. Some people, they just come in running, and some people, they come in real slow. I'll always remember that evening, two lovers laughing away. They didn't know it was coming that night at the Midget Cafe. That night at the Midget Cafe. And in walks the husband, who sees them having their fun. The wife begins to panic, 'cause she knows he carries a gun. And he pulls out his pistol and gives them a piece of his mind. He points it at the wife's lover, who knows he's now on a bind. You never know what's coming. It could be a friend or a foe. Some people, they just come in running, and some people, they come in real slow. I'll always remember that evening, two lovers laughing away. They didn't know what was coming that night at the Midget Cafe. That night at the Midget Cafe. The wife reached out for the pistol to try and pull it away. She didn't know it was loaded, and it took her life that day. The husband stood there frozen, he didn't know what to say. He didn't know what was coming that night at the Midget Cafe. You never know what's coming, it could be a friend or a foe. Some people, they just come in running, and some people, they come in real slow. I'll always remember that evening, two lovers laughing away. They didn't know what was coming that night at the Midget Cafe. That night at the Midget Cafe. Sing it with me. Sing it.
Okay, come on.
You never know what's coming. It could be a friend or a foe. Some people, they just come in running, and some people, they come in real slow. I'll always remember that evening, two lovers laughing away. They didn't know what was coming that night at the Midget Cafe. That night at the Midget Cafe.
Can we get a remix, Karl?
No, he probably wished it was cheaters. They would have come with the cameras.
Oh, okay. See, there's the litigator for you. You gotta have cameras. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I heard a little singing there.
Mike,
Yes.
I've never heard you sing. I've never heard you sing.
You still haven't heard me sing.
I heard you. I heard
You
like
ever,
I heard
me make
I heard
noise.
You
You
say
ever
midget.
try to make some noise.
I know. I think you broke. You broke some glass.
Well, that's the
Thank
fun
you,
of it,
Karl.
you know? Sure,
Yeah, Karl.
sure.
We're gonna have a hold down next time. He's gonna play, and I'm just gonna sing. Or because I can't play a guitar. No. I have a guitar. So Karl,
you
if you give
dance,
lessons,
you would dance,
if
huh?
Karl gives lessons, we're gonna talk after the show.
I could play some basic chords for you.
Yeah, Mike. Why don't we make up a new song, Mike? Come on, Mike.
Nah, not today.
Nah, Mike.
So you sing in shows?
I sing
No,
I sing if whatever they give me. I can sing decent.
No, you dance at the.
I dance to traditional Puerto Rican music, but I sing choros, but 4 lines of Spanish, I'll kill it. I'll kill it every time. You want energy, you call me. I'm like back there. Da, 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 da. You know, that's what I give is the energy and the love. And I think what we forget as a conservative or whatever you wish to call yourself is that when you get out there and you just live, or as a believer, right? That's my primary identity. When you get out there and just live, then you're battling stereotypes, or at least you're communicating with different people. Because like some of the people I know from the dance company, we diametrically disagree, as I was telling you before the show. But I think sometimes, even if it may get heated, which it normally doesn't, we can still come back to a friendship and have a civil discourse, even though he's like, yeah, I support Elizabeth Warren. Well, yeah, I like her consumer protections, but that's pretty much all she's got as far as I'm concerned. You know, she's like, she's got policies. You know, I went to policy school, and that doesn't really necessarily mean anything other than somebody wrote a paper. And she probably didn't come up with it, right? So if I'm a political candidate, I'm going to tell you, being my surrogate, I'm here to feed things that I believe in, and this is what I want our policy paper to reflect. Most of what we get today, I believe, I can't say it definitively because I haven't read all these people's stuff, is you get somebody and you get their people to come up with policies they think is politically palatable. No, if you're a leader, like even Trump, even though I'm not saying he does everything, you should come up with what you want, and they should be developing something based upon the things you believe will work, right? So, yeah. So sometimes we just need to have a discourse amongst people even that disagree. Because I told a friend of mine, we went to dinner, he said, you voted for so-and-so? Yeah, man, I didn't think the other person was really going to do anything that was right or godly. I can't believe. Well, you know what? We had a discussion. And I thought that him and his wife are hot. But that's all right. What we lack in this country sometimes is civil discourse. They won't even let you explain, well, why'd you vote for him? Because I thought the other was both of them a loudmouth, and the other one could never be trusted. At least this one might could be trusted. Right?
It's like that saying,
Hold on, let him go.
I may disagree strongly with what you say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it. I think Voltaire or somebody said that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't Thoreau. I know that. But that's the point, is that if you really care about rights and justice, you will allow other people to talk. You will appreciate their ability to talk or to have discourse. But the current environment we're in, you can't have any discourse. It's like, well, if you support anything Trump supports, you're a racist. Okay, Julian Castro. Apparently, you're trying to be a bully yourself. You know, so, and one of my friends, he likes my government friend, teacher friend. He's, oh, well, you know, Julian Castro came up with this program in San Antonio that helps kids, pre-kindergarten kids, you know, when the government was having problems with Head Start. So I said, man, I think he's good. I said, well, Frank, that's not his name. I said, Frank, so you mean to tell me you like a candidate who invented a program that was just like a program that they already had? So the point is, we decide who we like, all of us. And sometimes we don't decide based upon anything that is substantive per a policy or per a faith. We're just like, well, I like them, right? You know, oh, I like Beto. Why? He's, he's going to address racism. Really? Well, I hope he addresses in the Democratic Party because they got some of it too. Racism isn't extended to one party, right? Anyway.
Oh, no. But to hear most... of your people talk, it's only in the Republican Party. They're the party of the Klux Klan, according to them, the unread bastards.
Well, that's not true, because I had to tell my friend, I was like, yeah, Oliver, so, oh, sorry, I said his name. I said, I was trying not to give his name.
Don't say the last name. Just don't say it.
Joan? No, sorry. Anyway, I said, hey, well, this is racist, and these shootings are the end result of racism. I said, well, you can't blame all those shootings on racism. I mean, you could blame it on lack of fathers in homes. You could blame it on lack of direction in schools. At some point, you can't blame everything on racism. You can't blame everything on the Republicans, because if that's the case, I said, well, what about the, everything's on racism and such and such, and like, well, some of these bad policies originated on the Democrats too, right? You know, that like the 3 strikes and out rule on that Biden helped get through the Senate, that Bill Clinton signed, that sent a whole bunch of black people to jail that if they were white, they probably would never went to jail, at least not for the, 20 years.
Now they find out Kamala Harris was withholding evidence in order to convict brothers.
Maybe, but don't forget, if you're talking Kamala Harris, if we're going to start ragging on people, tell me, do you know, and this is a fact, so this isn't really ragging, who her boyfriend was when she was
Willie Brown?
20-something and he was 50-something? And Willie Brown was what?
He was
The Speaker of what?
Speaker of the House in California. Wasn't
What? Yeah, and do you know the first job she got? One of the first jobs she got? Paid $164,000. Willie Brown appointed her to a commission in California. And the whole point of it is when you talk about patronage, Donald Trump, when you talk about injustice and impartiality, Donald Trump, when you talk about, people having cronyism, Donald Trump, you really are, all you're doing, it's like, you're sitting there, you're doing a shell game. You're moving around, so you don't want to see people realize that you blanking up over here. So all you can say is on him. Camilla, Elizabeth Warren saying she's Indian when she's not Indian. Now she's showing up in Indian stuff and all this and that. Beto is like talking like he Mexican. He's about as white as they come. It's not wrong being white. Right? This is a bad thing to say. My girlfriend's white, and black people get mad at that. But the point of it is, they get mad at everything. I'm sorry, I didn't meet the black woman first. If I met her first, I'd be with her. Whatever. But the point is like, if you want to go through and talk about Trump, which you have every right to do, talk about all the other candidates, right? Right? Talk about all the other candidates, right? Talk about what they have or what they don't have. Talk about how Joe Biden's son, was it Hunter Biden, got appointed to a board from some Saudi company that Joe had gone over. I think it was Joe was in Saudi complaining about something, and Saudis did what the Obama administration said, and within a month or two, his son who didn't have no experience on any corporate boards got a job on the board, and I think he paid like $40,000-$50,000 a month. Well, the whole point of it is, even if that's not illegal, you have all these people decrying this lack of piety in Trump who have no piety politically or socially or morally themselves. And let's not forget Biden argued rather demonstrably but politely against segregation in Delaware, against integration, effectively for segregation, right? So you have all these people decrying Trump being this racist person. And even if he was or is, and by the way, in the Christian faith, we actually believe people can change, that God redeems you. But apparently a lot of the idiots, black or white, they're more fleshly Christians. If you make a mistake, then you're just always, God didn't forgive you for all your sins. He only forgave you for the ones that I don't like. Or I like.
Well,
so people are very trivial, and they need to be fair in their policy analysis. And we need to be able to listen to each other.
Well, that requires thought, Kennard.
Everybody's got thoughts, but some of them not good.
We're almost in an anti-thought environment.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
In other words, if what you're thinking is not what we all think you should be thinking, something is wrong with you. Which is what Karl, you mentioned something about someone said that any black person who votes for Trump is something wrong with them. There's something
it was a sign.
Psychologically wrong with them. There's something psychologically wrong with any black person who supports one of their own people.
No, you know what? I go you one better. And everything I say is on tape about Malcolm X. Is Malcolm X, and I don't know where this one was, Malcolm X talked about if you vote for a Democrat, I don't know if his word was bad, stupid, or crazy, but you go look up the video. He said, if you vote Democrat, bad idea, dumb. And it's not to say Republicans are without any lack of judgment. It's simply to say you don't vote for anybody blindly. Right? I had a friend, Richard Franklin, he ran, and he lost to Jeff Trevilian. Jeff's a decent guy, but, whatever. And all the black people out there know who Jeff is, whatever. But point is, I knew Richard. Even if people thought he was a nut, I could I could testify to his character.
Right.
I could testify to what he tried to do to help people. I could point to things. I could go point at it. But a lot of times you're like, oh, I like Karl. Well, what did Karl do? No, I don't have no name. Let's say if I run. Hey, I've worked in social service for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I ain't get paid a damn thing. And I served in all these meetings where I was making $10 an hour trying to help bond committees and strategic, plans. But the point of it is you should be able to know them and or point to something they've done to benefit someone other than themselves, particularly the public. Mm-hmm. Because if you can't, all you got is some fool to give them a speech. Well, you might as well go to seminary school and get just watch somebody give a practice sermon or something, because that's going to do you a whole lot better than listening to some fool lying to you that say he trying to help you.
May I offer a theory as to why people tend to these days shoot first and ask questions later?
Good.
It's because I think maybe because of the digital culture, you can immediately, project your thought or your tweet or your Facebook post anywhere in the world, like immediately within seconds, instead of actually sitting down and talking to somebody. It's a lot easier to be whatever you want to be, or take up whatever position, or be angry, on a digital format, when you're not actually sitting down talking to someone and have to try to reason with someone. So that would be my guess. That in the old days, like pre-digital, which is not that long ago, you actually had to talk to people.
Yeah. You found out that you had some kind of commonality.
Yeah, you find where you agree and work on that, and then, agree to disagree.
Yeah. And then sometimes it might be something as simple as, like, if I'm talking about people I dance with, we may disagree, but me and my one friend, Rich, we just cut up. And we can talk about politics or faith or something or whatnot, and maybe just do it in a way that's jovial or fun. And that may allow us to have other discussions that other people they would shy away from. But he and I have a friendship, right? So because of that friendship, I'm not saying we tend to avoid politics because we're kind of divergent, but at least we can have a conversation. Whereas me and other people I know there or somewhere else or at work, they're not willing to have any conversation, even if you present them with facts and if you try to engage them. No, really. Did I tell you about the time the guy at work said, they thought I had on the Make America Great Again hat? Yeah. So one person, you had a hat on. Oh, yeah, I could wear that hat, but I'm not going to. Your guys aren't ready for that. Another guy, you got it. I thought you had a Make America Great Again hat. I said, that's a racist hat. I said, the hat's not racist. I said, you from Austin? He's a Mexican brother. He said, yeah. I said, Austin's a progressive city. For the last 40 or 60 years, they treat black and Mexicans pretty bad, don't they? We get shot if the police stop you and you run. You should generally never run if the police stop you because they might, you don't have any trouble. But I said, don't you know how they treated black and brown people? Gentrifiers took our land in the last 40 or 60 years. I said, well, the hat's not any more racist than those policies. And then I told the guy another story. I went into a place that had Make America Great Again T-shirts outside. They had a Confederate flag. I said, this is going to be a good redneck who just like to work and is hard working. They don't care. If a good redneck, they don't care who you are. Wow. Or it's going to be a bad redneck who's racist. And a good redneck can be Democrat, Republican, whatever. I don't know. So I walk into the store, and this is where you can make a mistake in assuming what people think. I said, hey, I look, it's a guy behind the counter. There's some bullets, and he's selling bullets and stuff, whatever. It's two people. I couldn't tell if the man was Mexican or white, and it was a white lady, and they were buying Make America Great Again shirts. And I said, hey, I want y'all to let y'all know there are black people that support the president. Because this is out going towards Enchanted Rock to Bertram, Texas. And the guy looks behind the counter. He says, hey, do y'all see a black guy? I don't see a black guy. I see an American. Are you an American? I said, yes, I am. And we had a discussion about, politics and faith. And then when I went to leave, I went to buy my little shirt or whatever, I said, I'm going to get me a shirt. I don't know where I'm going to wear it because, you got to be ready to fight. If you're wearing it at the wrong time of night, I can fight, but I don't, but, and I said, my credit card machine's out. Oh, man, all I got is credit. The guy who was standing in the counter, who had on a Tupac shirt, he buying a Make America Great Again shirt with a Tupac shirt on. I'm like, brother, give me some debt. Anyway, he took out his 20 and paid for my shirt because all I had was my debit card. And it just goes to show you, even me, being fairly open and not trying to make any assumptions, I assumed, even for a second, that I didn't know what kind of people I had. Mm-hmm. And I reacted in the sense of, I got to explain myself. And the dude was masterful. He said, I don't see a black guy, I see an American. So you know what? Good thing I was an American. If I was a Canadian, I might have been in trouble. But
and good thing you wasn't from El Salvador, huh?
Well, hey, you know what? If you got your papers, you can be wherever you want.
Yep.
But the point is, don't assume something based upon what you think or your perception. And a lot of times what we're getting increasingly is your perception of if you're a Christian this, if you supported Trump this, if this. Oh, you can't know anything about your history if you're conservative. Oh no, fool, I'll run circles around you easy every day. I could like this. Because that's how I was raised, to know your history, to know world history, to like to do different things. That's how I raised my kid who has different interests. Your kids, right? The point is they assume that if you're somehow conservative or if you support Trump, you're just an unga bunga, Fred Flintstone type, you're pushing your car around with your feet or something. No. These people are very advanced. These people are very caring. These people often are very loving. And I've got more help from a conservative than I've ever got from a liberal. Ever.
Did you see that lady, Marianne Williamson, was caught on a microphone?
Yeah, I saw that. Go ahead, say it.
Unknowingly saying, "Oh, the conservatives are nice to me," or the people on Fox News are not.
They're nicer to me than.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And to the left.
Well, the thing about Marianne Williamson, and I'll say this for full disclosure, before I was a practicing Christian, I read all of her books, and they loosely touch on some basic Christian tenets, but they miss out because they don't specifically talk about God and faith. But the one thing that you'll know about Marianne Williamson, if you read any of her stuff, I read it, is that there's a sense of justice somewhere in her stuff. That's why she's jabbering about reparations, right? Or there's a sense of she wanting people to have peace, or wanting people to work together. There is some general sense of either commonality or decency, right? And so what I think she's finding, she maybe assumed that because you're conservative that you wouldn't no, you wouldn't treat them right. But no, honey, the conservatives are probably going to be more godly, which is going to be more in line with somebody who will be patient with you. Or as my girlfriend said, she used to say, when I was a liberal, I would go up and, get in their face. And the conservatives would always just sit and talk to me. And they wouldn't be mean to me. And they would respect me. So now that she's conservative, the point is like, she'll find out what she found out, which is we may differ on some things, right? But there is generally, not in all cases, generally you'll get people that'll be more respectful, right? Even if they disagree with you,
they
maybe
respect
if
your
they
right to disagree.
You. Well, yeah. Well, there's a general, there's a different decency. There's not that presumption of you're ignorant, asinine, butt white because you don't want to vote for Bernie. There's the preponderance of kindness as opposed to ignorance.
Well, it goes back to the old adage, don't judge a book by its cover, There's a reason why that came about, and that goes for any kind of book or any kind of cover. Mm-hmm. You have to get to know somebody first. And it's something we all do. It's just we make snap judgments about
Well, it's a human thing to do because you're trying to organize your world and figure out how to deal with what. Don't
get mad at me when you said that. I started thinking because you're kind of Western. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You got to count your money when sitting at the table.
You don't count your money when the day is done.
So the whole point is like, hey, you got to know when to hold them prejudices in the side. Because like I said, I walked into a place and I was like, I don't know what I'm getting. And I should have held it. That was one instance where I was wrong. And that guy that thought I had on the Make America Great Again hat. And I told him that story later. I said about the second story about, hey, I walked into that place. He had nothing to say. Except some other time he started saying stuff about, they, being kind of impolite. Oh, well, somebody said something wrong. Oh, well, she seems like she'd be a Trump voter. Well, see, that's right there. Uh-huh. My point of talking to him is trying to show him that there's a divergence of ideas and we can be wrong in our assumptions. And him, being a reasonable guy otherwise, he's trained to deal in some demagoguery or some other word with at least 3 or 4 vowels.
I thought about wearing my MAGA hat and my Trump 2020 shirt today.
Oh, you should have told me. Hey, you know what we should do? I tell you, this is what we should do. I met the guy or somebody affiliated with a Jamaican place in town. We should put on all my Make America Great Again hat, and I'll put on my little hat like this and come in there like this, and we go in and have dinner.
So I like to wear my MAGA hat and my shirt, T-shirt, just to see what happens. Just to see. Just to
Okay, well, let's do it.
I went to a.
We can use Karl's backup.
Texas Criminal Defense Lawyers Association seminar last week. I wore my MAGA hat, and one person said, "I hate that hat." He caught me off guard. I was right. I should have said, "Oh, you hate for black babies to live too." Bitch. But that's what I said.
You could have asked him, what hat do you like? The dunce hat? But see, the hat, I think on some level it's a political issue in terms of the lack of civility. Or I
like the fact that he evokes a response, because I just want to see what.
Well, no. I'm saying why people respond like they do to the hat. Some of it is emotional. Some of it, quite a few of it, is political. But I would offer you, and excuse me, I hate to sound like the fake person or something sometimes. Sometimes I think it's spiritual. Because if you notice, even the guy, he doesn't have discipline sometimes. But in my faith, God used David, who was a philanderer. God used Moses, who was a stutterer. God used Nebuchadnezzar, who was a daggone pagan. God used Emperor Darius, who was a pagan from basically Iran. Go figure. He used Emperor Cyrus. So the point is, God can use anyone, and God spoke out of a jackass. So that means even if you think he's even if you think he's a so-and-so, that he can be used. So my point there is to say that sometimes some people who either don't like any people that do things that are faith-based, or also people respond who are maybe not people of faith, are responding at a spiritual level to him. So some of it's emotional, psychological, even spiritual, because when you're doing something that may be right by God, people will not like it. And he tells you when people talk end times, and they're not going to Revelations, they will tell you this is how they will act. They will believe people that say what they want to believe. What did you start to show off with?
Well,
we follow people that say what we want to hear.
Like what we want to hear. What feeds us.
What feeds your ego, not your spirit.
I thought that. I just thought it was important to just for people just in a sense just step back for a second. And just realize, as far as I'm concerned, God can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants, with whomever he wants. And there are no rules. It seems to me that many people want God to conform to how they see things, rather than the other way around. Mm-hmm. And they just get caught, to me, they just get caught up in themselves. Which brings me back to, we were talking about the confused people, the LGBTQ. I read something recently that said it should be LGBTQM for minor attracted adults.
Yeah, I heard that, but you know what? You know where you put trash? Where's the trash can? You know where you put trash? You put it right in the trash can. You know where you put toilet paper? Right, dump it right down the toilet.
Flush it.
Because you know what? If something is a mental disorder, a spiritual issue, or whatever, let's say it's just a chemical imbalance, that doesn't justify it. That don't justify it. And see, notice what I said earlier. If you take that, use a causation. You like them kind of words, causation. Causation. You legitimize this, and ultimately, you might legitimize this. So everything Jeffrey Epstein is rumored to have done with the Democrats and Republicans in the high society, it's accepted now. Oh, he just has a problem. Yeah, you have a problem that you might. I can't say the proper things. You can't. I refuse to. I don't even want to mention that, because you know what? I'm not even going to give them people the time to legitimize some bunch of junk that is hedonistic, satanistic, and some other word.
Just sick, man.
Sick, but you throw trash in the trash, and if you accept any part of that, it's like the law. What they say about the law, you accept any one part of the law, you accept all of it. So once you start going down a slippery slope of going
all the way down,
you better watch out, because there's some grease on that. You might just slide down into hell. I mean, euphemistically speaking. I'm sorry. Metaphorically speaking. Sorry. So what's the 101st show going to be on?
I don't know. I mean, actually, wearing my MAGA hat and my Trump 2020 shirt.
Oh, I won't be. I'll be at dance practice next week.
At dance practice?
Yeah. Can I dance next time on the show?
Yeah.
You want
I can
to.
dance. Oh,
Bring some music.
I
yeah.
wanna see that.
Send me some music to play.
Yeah. I'll do that.
You want to do? You want to do that anyway?
Yeah, but then I could do what I want. I don't have to choreograph nothing. I don't have to follow choreography. See, and that's the last thing I wanted to say real quick, is I think I said it before, they think that if you're conservative, you don't know how to do anything. They think you can't live, you can't have fun. But guess what? If I go somewhere, I'm the life and I'm the energy.
I was at a party with you. I know that.
Yeah, and that wasn't even nothing. You know what I told him? I said, I might have an issue of sleep apnea at work. I said, this is 70%. Y'all ain't never seen 100%. Oh, my God, you people are in trouble.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for being on my 100 show.
Where's my T-shirt?
And for number 101,
Where's my T-shirt?
that's next week.
No. My Right
T-shirt.
Talk with Mike Lee T-shirt. Where is my T-shirt?
Don't have those yet.
Did I? No. I didn't. No. Hold on. That's the demand.